So hello everybody and welcome to this session. We're in QMS 3, Path of Workflow, and we're looking at activities under Module 3.1, the pre-examination phase. And this activity is 3.1.2, packaging specimens for shipment to referral sites. The message here is that if the laboratory receives a quality specimen, then the patient can receive a quality result. And so we want to ensure that when we refer specimens to referral sites to other laboratories for the tests to be done, that we make sure that we package and ship those specimens in a way that will ensure their integrity testing. So what does ISO 15189 say about referral laboratories? What are the requirements from the standard? So if you go to ISO 15189 subclause 4.5, this is examination by referral labs, and it says, a referral laboratory is one to which laboratory management chooses to submit a sample or subsample for examination, or when routine examinations cannot be carried out. So you either send it as a choice to another lab to do that test. So you may, as part of your services, you may say you do that test, but you actually don't physically maybe have the infrastructure or the equipment to do that test, but you've identified another lab where that test is done. So you refer the sample to them, or it may be that it's part of your contingency plan. So in the event that you either stock out or you have a power outage, or for whatever reason you can't carry out that examination, you've identified this lab to send your samples to. So this is the process that normally happens. You have Yellow Hospital. Yellow Hospital gets a lab request for a test that they either don't do or at that point in time cannot do. And they package and transport that test to Blue Laboratory because Blue Laboratory does the test, okay? So the examination is performed by the referral laboratory. Then the result is sent back to Yellow Hospital. And Yellow Hospital then gives the result to the requester. Please note that you can see on that report form that we are saying that the assay was performed by Blue Laboratory. It's very important that if the sample was referred for testing, that in the results that are sent to the requester, you clearly indicate that this result is coming from the referral hospital. You indicate that you didn't do it, and you also indicate who actually did the testing. So the referring laboratory is responsible for reporting the result from the referral laboratory to the requesting physician. This way, the referring laboratory can monitor turnaround time and report content, okay? So you are the one sending the sample to the referral lab. So it's your job to get the result back and to make sure that, number one, they have done the right tests. Number two, the information on the results are what you want or what you expect to see. Number three, that all other information is present and there are no errors in that report before you send it out to your user. It is also your job to make sure that you follow up, and we'll be looking at this in subsequent activities to make sure that that result is sent back to you on time. So in subclause 4.5.1 ISO 15189, it goes further to talk about how we should select or evaluate and select referral laboratories and consultants, and it provides some criteria, including looking to see if the test that you want them to perform for you is accredited. So for example, if it's a chemistry test, is their chemistry unit or their chemistry section accredited, or are they accredited for that particular test? You want to make sure that the lab participates in EQA successfully, right? So it's not just participation in EQA, because if they are participating in EQA but they're failing, that means that they're not they're not competent in the performance of that test. So you want to make sure that they're also passing. Then, do they provide instructions for sample requirements, request information, transportation arrangements, and result reporting? So, what is their procedure in ensuring that samples who are referred, or excuse me, laboratories or hospitals who are referring tests to them or referring samples to them for testing are packaging and transporting those samples in a way that will maintain their integrity? So you know that they have a stakehold in the quality of what they're doing if they provide you with these instructions, if they provide you with instructions on how to collect the sample, how, you know, how much do they need, what tube do they need it in, etc. The information they need to come with the sample, how to transport the sample, transportation arrangements, and also how the results will be reported, and also, you know, what the units will be, etc. If they have all this information at hand to provide to you, then you know that they're really looking at the quality of what they're doing. Then you also want to look at the methodology that they're using and make sure that it is in line with what you want, or it's of the quality that you want, because it may be that you're doing a particular test. So for example, if you are sending the sample to another lab to be tested because in your lab for some reason, power outage, reagent stockouts, you are unable to perform the test, you want to make sure that the methodology that they're using gives the same output as whatever methodology you are using in your lab, okay? That the results are comparable. So what are they using? What methodology are they using? Then have they validated and verified it? Look for information on that. Ask to see reports of their validation and verification of any equipment they are using for the exam. We need to make sure that when we're looking at selecting a referral laboratory to send our samples to, that we apply this criteria. And we may not apply everything. We have to look at what is relevant within our scenarios. For example, if you're in an area that does not have any accredited lab, you are not going to add accreditation as one of your criteria, okay? So you have to look at other things that can speak to the quality of the work that they're doing, competency assessments of staff, training, etc. Any peer review programs, if they're not participating in any EQA proficiency testing, are they doing something else? Are they doing peer review? Are they doing interlaboratory comparisons? So you can look at other criteria to be able to establish whether, yes, this referral lab is somewhere I want to send samples to be tested. Because remember that if you send it to a lab that has that whose level of quality and competency is not good, it is going to be reflected in the results that you get back. And along the way, you are going to find that your customers will become dissatisfied with the service that they're getting. So it's in your interest, because you are sending the samples to this lab. So it also impacts on your reputation as a lab. So make sure that when you're selecting your referral labs, that you apply these criteria. So in summary, looking at the requirements in terms of referral labs, and the responsibilities of the referring and the referral labs, what we have seen from reviewing ISO 15189 is that you are responsible, you, the referring lab, are responsible for number one, selecting and evaluating your referral lab, the lab that you want to send your samples to. And number two, you are responsible for making sure that they test the sample and they send back a report that you can also provide to your user. At the end of the day, the contract is between you and the physician, or you or your user, not between them and the referral lab. So it is your responsibility. Right. Now let's move forward to look at how we package and transport these samples and the requirements that we need to have in mind when we're doing this. So how do we make sure that we package and transport the sample in a way that is, number one, safe, because any biological sample is potentially infectious. Number two, that it arrives at the required with the required integrity to be tested, so it's been transported properly under the right temperature conditions, etc. So when it gets to the lab, it is viable for testing. Okay, so we'll move on to the next video after this, which is going to be 3.1.2.2, please. And then in that recording, we will look at how we package samples for transportation.